The Blind Son, written by Dragonfire 2LM, father of the discarded. As the day dragged on, Grim flitted around the room, occasionally glancing over at the closed wardrobe Hearth resided in. The former Kindler had encased herself in a cocoon of red magic, its hard exterior faintly pulsing with light that peeked through the crack of the slightly open wardrobe door. He'd already received news from the links he'd sent to the Badlands High that they'd snuck in with ease. The changelings loyal to Chrysalis fell for the ruse so long as his knights projected a sense of obedience and loyalty into the Hive mind. From there, the knights had found a series of small tunnels that ran to several key areas of the Hive. The tunnels had been discreetly marked with an image of an open flame. These tunnels had proved instrumental in smuggling out grubs and lings out from the Tyrant Queen's nose. It appears Hearth had been busy during her time as Kindler. Grim couldn't be more proud of her. But the king was also saddened at how long things had gone unnoticed. It was rare that a queen went rogue for years without reprimand. It had once more reminded him that despite the vast amount of knowledge at his disposal, that even things could escape his notice. All that could be done was to rescue those they could until he could see to Chrysalis in person. He would once his business in Candlelit was concluded. His thoughts were brought back to the present as his gaze settled on the afternoon sun streaming in from the window above the desk. The hour was growing late, and Hearth still had not emerged. He would not leave her while she was this vulnerable. Despite her determination, her fate had hung in the air. He had seen what would have happened if he had not taken a detour to retrieve her. And she was but one of many that suffered under Chrysalis' rule. No more, he thought with a sigh. I will not be idle while this world crumbles around me. Ah, that reminds me, this visit will not be as pleasant as Celestia wishes it to be. The presence of another in the room drew him from his musings. In the shadows in the corner of the room, a pair of glowing white orbs peeked out from the shadow cast by the desk. Grim recognized the concerned mind brushing up against his. I did not pull you from your shell just to fret over me, he pointed out. At another wave of worry and agitation, Grim properly sat up in the seat and patted the empty seat beside them. Speak your mind, my child, you know you are always free to. The reply was not a voice, yet it was still a form of telepathy, an image of words written in a stilted script. At Grim's expectant look, the being corrected themselves. I am worried. You have no power here. I have no power in most kingdoms, Grim replied smoothly. It is the way of things, yet you are invited. This worries me. The sun could wish you ill will. Celestia has always been cordial, though she puts her subjects first, as do most benevolent rulers, Grim reassured them. Yet the shadowy being was not convinced. It emerged from its hiding place, a shade of shadows with a pair of proud, three-pronged horns. Its body a mess of tattered inky darkness, and a slender pair of arms, bug-like in appearance and ending in clawed hands. Even in their wraith-like state, the being was still double Grim's height, their head bowed to prevent their horns from scraping the ceiling. The creature floated over and pointedly sat themselves down at Grim's side. They pointed a claw at him. This land hangs on by your own thread, a golden age set to end in 10 years' time. Why try to salvage this kingdom when one ruler wishes to steal your power and the other too blinded by affection to see it? Hollow, Grim chided. The future is not so set in stone, there is time to change things. Yet Hollow crossed their arms, discontent rolling off them in waves. Father, the ponies do not care for you, you have not stepped foot in Equestria since the fall of the fray. All the more reason why I am eager to speak with Celestia. It has been an age since we have spoken, Grim said, warm smile fading as he looked over at the wardrobe once more. Though I may have to reschedule that dinner, no, the sun has all the power here, go appease her. Hollow raised a hand and with a snap of their fingers, a gleaming white, nail-like blade was summoned into their lap. I will watch over the meddling. You have a performance to prepare for. Grim nodded, sighing. You are right, I should not risk offense just to soothe my own worries. Tension left his shoulders as his worries eased. His eldest child was more than capable of defending Hearth from harm. Though he knew it would not reach such extremes, the assurance was welcome. How are your siblings? The White Lady is staying true to her word. Yes. Grim received a nod. Yes, they are doing well. Peggle would like to see the gardens of Candlelit, but they understand this meeting is important, even if they cannot grasp why. Grim hummed in thought. I would request an extended stay in the city. It is a rare thing, to see a kingdom during the final years of an era. He smirked, a spark of mischief in his glowing red gaze. Yes, I'm sure Celestia wouldn't object to allowing our little family a long-ever vacation. You last saw her when you were still but a child in the custody of the Pale King. Hollow tilted their head. The others would like that. Grim's smirk softened. But not you. The shadowy bug looked to struggle with finding the appropriate response. No, no, save the spotlight for Ghost. I am done with being the center of attention. My presence would only serve to honor the sun, I think. So, there is nothing you would care to do in this grand city of wonder and opportunity? Grim asked and watched as Hollow stared at the floor in contemplation. I would like to see the Hall of History. Stained glass has always been a sight to behold. I shall see what I can do. Perhaps the notion of wanting to spend some time with my children will improve my chances of success. Grim suggested as he stood up. After all, my warnings may be falling on deaf ears for all we know, or the end result is our little family being shunned by both sun and moon, though I certainly hope that will not be the case. There was a knock at the door. The moth straightened his cloak and glanced out of the window. The sky was beginning to darken, and Grim rested a hand on Hollow's shoulder. Time grows short, my child. Wish me luck. Break a leg. A different guard led Grim to a dining room. The round table overlooked a large window from which a view of the city could be seen. Grim politely took a seat, ignoring the weariness rolling off the garden waves. The sound of another set of hoop steps turned his attention to the doorway, and the Princess of Equestria walked into the room. Princess Celestia was a tall, white-furred pony with both feathered wings and a long, spiraled horn. Her mane and tail were elegant wispy trails of moving sunlight, and the mare's purple eyes looked at Grim with polite kindness. The princess was dressed in a sweeping sky-blue robe and a golden tiara that resembled the sun rising over the horizon. She walked over and took the seat opposite Grim and smiled. A staff wheeled in a silver trolley laden with plates of food. Wine glasses were set before both higher beings as a servant dressed in a suit poured them both a glass. Grim politely took a sip of his drink. It's good to see you after all this time, Grim, Celestia said. Thank you for coming all this way. Grim dipped his head respectfully as a plate of salad was placed in front of him. A summons to meet a potentially new higher being. How could I refuse? Grim replied cordially. I take it your niece won't be joining us tonight. Kittens is spending some time with her special sun pony. I thought it would be best to save introductions for tomorrow. I've heard one of your subjects was wounded recently. Grim grimaced. Indeed, my eldest child is looking after her at the moment. Oh. Celestia was intrigued. I thought you swore off of having young. Grim chuckled. I have. My eldest and their 3 siblings were lost souls I've taken in as my own. Their fates were cruel to say the least. I was hoping you would allow me to show them around the city. One of my youngest wishes to see the gardens, and my eldest rarely leaves the troop, and as busy as you are, you want to spend more time with your children, Celestia surmised. I know many of my ponies that express similar wants, and I would be honored to accommodate you and your family. A lull in the conversation allowed Grim to pick at his salad and observe the princess. As much as it warmed his heart to see her well, this was no simple social gathering. Celestia, Grim said after a moment. You've done well in leading your subjects these past 1,000 years, but this era of peace is drawing to a close. I know, Celestia sighed, giving him a serious look. But I do not need your assistance. I have a plan in place to deal with Nightmare Moon. My sister will be returned to me. Oh? Care to enlighten me? Grim asked curiously. His pleasant mood was starting to sour. He knew full well what Luna had tried to do all those years ago. Nightmare Moon was nothing more than mask, a falsehood the sun crafted in her denial. My student is one of the most powerful unicorns I've seen since Stars World appeared. I have no doubt that her power will be enough to awaken the dormant elements of harmony and free Luna from the dark magic that ensnares her, Celestia explained. Tia, Luna is not ensorcelled by some dark power. She made her choice, and paid the price for it, Grim tried to explain gently. And your reliance on mortal make magics will not work. There is nothing to cleanse. The stern look the princess gave him spoke volumes. She was lost and confused. And your magic warped her, changed her in a way she should never be. If you had never given her the boon, and there it was, the lingering hurt and anger from events long past. The jag but his power still stung, but the moth merely sicked at his wine. I gave her the right to tend to the nightmares of her subjects, to try and give her a new purpose. If it were not for me, Luna would have tried to kill you instead. My sister would never do such a thing, Celestia insisted. I know Twilight will succeed. I have time to teach her everything she needs to know. Grim arched a brow at her. The elements, powerful though they were, relied on strong bonds between the users. And how do you plan on finding compatible ponies to awaken the elements? There will be no need. Just as they called out to Luna and I 1,000 years ago, so too will they call out to their new bearer, Celestia explained. Grim reached out with his foresight. Despite this new information, one outcome was still the most likely to occur. A bond that strong cannot be formed overnight, and even then, your sister is not some corrupted monster. Then what else is she? She would never act like this unless it was a reaction to your magic, Celestia demanded. First, you failed your own sister, then the Crystal Empire, and now you offer empty promises when you've done nothing to prevent any of this from happening. Out of all of us, you should have been the one to step in and prevent these things from occurring. Grimm's eye narrowed as his maw dipped into a frown. I understand you were not present for the tragedy that befell Holounist and the Crystal Empire until the very end. But I did what I could. I did more than I should have, given the circumstances. He leaned back in his seat. He was known for his patience. Little could stoke the fires of his fury, but reminders of the souls lost, the toll he'd paid to be where he was now, or perhaps the results of my aid, have gone as unnoticed as those of your sister. After all, I have not seen, nor heard any reference to her outside of some childhood tale made in your honor and an autumn holiday. What results? Celestia asked. The radiance is sealed away thanks to the worm's efforts. The Crystal Empire has vanished from existence and my sister is imprisoned in the moon. I have spent the last 1,000 years tending to my duties and my subjects, not meddling in affairs outside of my domain. Everything in Celestia, Grimm said gently. He needed to salvage the conversation without dragging his children into this. No matter how eager he was to prove the Aladrin wrong, he would abide by Hollow's wishes to remain outside of her knowledge. I merely want to ensure that the ending we get is best possible outcome, and I assure you, my plan is sound, Celestia said sternly. He could sense Hollow poking him mentally in concern. The former vessel, having no doubt sensed his carefully hidden disappointment and anger towards the princess. He sent back reassurance, for he would not pressure his elders to face something they were not ready for. Hollow was unconvinced but returned their attention to guarding Hearth, sending him their own reassurance that the former Kingdealer was still asleep and unharmed. Grimm, are you listening? He blinked. My apologies, Princess, my eldest was just checking up on me. They worry about me, never truly settled until I return to the troop safe and sound. At that, Celestia smiled. They sound adorable, though fully grown. They are more sensitive than their siblings. A joy to see given the state I found them in, Grimm said and waved a hand idly. But back to the matter at hand, if you refuse my aid, then might I suggest an addition to your plan, on the off chance your student fails? And what would that be? Allow your student to spend some time with me, to learn about my duties and what it will mean for Equestria when the time comes, Grimm suggested. Should she succeed in 10 years' time, I can aid in helping your sister adjust to the changes in society that have come about since her absence. If your student fails, I will welcome her into my troop and ensure her safety, and you will remain silent about the plan. Celestia asked. I've kept Twilight in the dark about all of this. After what happened with Sunset, I thought it would be for the best that she finds the answers herself. You are risking the future of your entire kingdom on the whims of one soul. A dangerous game, Princess, Grimm warned inside. But it is clear my warnings will not be heeded. I do hope there are no hard feelings. Celestia's expression turned sharp. So long as you keep your magic to yourself, and stay out of Equestria's affairs, then we won't have an issue. Her heart looked melted into something motherly. Though there may still be a rift between us, I will not hinder you, nor your desire to spend time with your children. You are free to wander the city with them while you are here, and I will think on your offer to mentor my student. The meal continued in tense silence. Grimm reached out to Hollow. Would you like me to bring you anything? Hollow's response was hesitant but tinged in excitement. Cake. A splendid idea. And tell your siblings they may follow you here if they so wish. The princess has given us permission to stay for a time. Hollow replied immediately. Father, Ghost is insisting on fighting the princess. They want to challenge the sun. What happened? We came to an agreement. Ghost is already on their way here, aren't they? Yes, though they are bringing Pedlo with them. Do tell Ghost that they are not to, and I quote, challenge the sun. I have no desire to see what little respect the sun has for me be destroyed because one of my children took offense. The short exchange that Grimm was privy to was rather humorous, causing Grimm to smirk as he ate. Sibling, no. Father said, you cannot fight the sun because Father said so. Your status as a higher being does not concern it. It has relayed the message per Father's wishes. It is still older than you by several minutes, so please do as it asks. Maybe it will spar with you if you behave. A quick visit to the kitchen after dinner had resulted in Grimm snacking a beautifully decorated carrot cake topped with dried raspberries. He returned to his room, cake held in one hand, and scooped up the little bug that attempted to dash past him. no larger than a pony foal. They had stubby black limbs, and their head was a white mask-like shell with two thin horns that curved upwards, ending in two small prongs. The bug struggled in his hold for a moment, the tattered gray cloak that grew from beneath their mask twisting around them from their squirming. Grim passed the cake over to Hollow and with his other hand freed, cradled the child in his arms to his chest, plucking a blade-shaped nail from their grasp. Empty black sockets stared at him as the little one crossed their arms in an obvious display of frustration. "Ghost," Grim chided. "You are not to go running off while you are here." He turned his gaze over to Hollow and another small bug peeking out from behind his eldest shadowy form. Hollow had given themselves a pair of legs and longer cloak to stabilize themselves while the smaller bug clung to them. Grim nodded at his other two children. "The same goes for the two of you. Welcome we may be, but that does not mean it is safe for the likes of." The child staying close to Hollow was slightly smaller than Ghost, their cloak a vibrant red, and they had two sets of short horns on each side of their mask that curled up slightly. The smaller bug walked over and looked up at Grim, their head tilted to one side. Their telepathic script was messy, the practiced scrawl of a young mind. "Father, can I have some cake?" "Only a small piece, I want to save some for Heart," he replied. The young bug looked over at the wardrobe. Hollow said she was really hurt. Ghost's annoyance had faded into quiet reluctance. Grim set them down. He nodded at his youngest as Ghost hopped up onto a vacant seat and the sound of them rustling through something in the cloak filled the room. "She was, but she will be fine," he reassured the smallest of his children. "I have some good news, Petal. Celestia has given us permission to visit the gardens." The excitement he felt from Petal brought a smile to his face as Hollow tapped the edge of the desk to get their attention. The eldest sibling had a glowing white knife in hand. The cake rested on the desk, cut up into several pieces. Petal happily scurried over to receive their share while Grim took a seat next to Ghost. The moth rested a hand on Ghost's back, prompting their silent gaze to turn to him. "I understand your frustrations. I too wish Celestia would see reason," Grim said. "But you cannot rush in and solve everything yourself, my child. We higher beings influence more than our individual remains. Our powers affect countless innocent lives. It may be many years until such consequences are seen, but nothing happens in a vacuum. Look at us, sibling." Hollow chimed in. "We are children of root, worm, and void. No voice to cry suffering, yet our cries were still heard." Ghost nodded, calming down as Hollow walked over to hand Grim his own slice of cake. Grim smiled, set Ghost's weapon aside, and broke the piece in half. He held the larger piece out to Ghost. "There are other avenues we can take. Please do not act rashly while we are here, Ghost. I want us all to have a grand time." Ghost nodded, accepting the offered cake and nibbling at it. Their telepathy was much quieter than their siblings, writing faint against a backdrop of darkness. "Sorry, Father." Certain that the lesson had been learned, Grim patted Ghost's head. Not everything can be solved by beating it into submission. He looked around the room. There was no sign of the last of his adopted children. "Did Javelin choose to remain in Hallownest?" Hollow nodded. "Hornet has agreed to train them. Rhea was pleased to let her do so." Grim smirked. "The beast sowed his love to entertain you for. How fares young Hornet?" Hollow perked up, a quiet joy leaking into their telepathy as they shared the adventures they and their sister had gotten caught up in during their last visit to Hallownest. Ghost would softly correct them when in excitement they would attempt to add more flair to the tale, much in the way Grim would during his stage performances with the troupe. Hours passed, the four of them swapping stories and talking late into the night. In the early hours of the next morning, as the sun began to rise, a loud crack sounded from the wardrobe. Heart was waking up. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the